The New York Jets fall to the Baltimore Ravens in an up and down game. There was a lot of good and a lot of bad, and I think a trend that is very important to keep an eye on for the Jets as they build toward 2026 and key players to keep an eye on. All this and much more coming up on this episode of Rich Sports Talk. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Jets have fallen to the Baltimore Ravens 23-10. We come live after every single game here on Rich Sports Talk, your home for all the latest and greatest on the New York Jets. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our live streams. Take us on the go wherever podcasts are available. And again, drop your comments below. Again, super chat to donate to the channel and to jump to the front of the line. This was definitely a mixed bag game. As a whole, you like to see the Jets compete. The Jets took the lead in this game. You like to see the Jets fighting against a really good team and improvement on the defense. But again, the Jets, it's clear when you don't have a quarterback, and Tyrod Taylor showed that this offense can function, when you can tell that this team is shorthanded, and when you can tell that they don't have enough in the back end of this defense. Again, the Jets, another game without an interception, which almost seems impossible. But again, it's the Jets. You can always find a lot to do. So I'm going to break down this game, the key moments to me in this game. But I also wanted to focus on one thing, because I think today really highlighted something, especially for the regime of Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn. And we'll talk about that in a bit and why I think it's important. But let's look at this game. And look, there were still some weird coaching decisions. The 3rd and 7 sequence, they took the delay of game, ended up punting. I thought for the most part, Tanner Engstrom called a good game. Again, the things that bother me are the Isaiah Davis shotgun runs on 3rd and short, not seemingly working. I didn't like that. I would also look, too, at this offense. It's clear, again, they don't have the number one receiver. I thought they was smart the way they were incorporating Breece Hall into the passing game today. I thought Breece had a great game, and we all know about the fumble in this game. Although I'll talk about that fumble a little bit. I don't really put that on Breece too much, and I'll explain why. Again, it was a killer at that point in the game. But to me, I thought the biggest killer in this game was the 3rd and 15, Isaiah Oliver, the 34-yard penalty. Now, look, personally, I thought it was a bad call. I thought it was a 50-50 ball. It's a corner against a tight end, but Isaiah Oliver killed that, allows the Ravens to go down the field. They score. Overall, I thought the run defense was really good. I think you're seeing a lot of positives there. But Isaiah Oliver will be a part of a common theme that I'll bring up. And again, super chat, jump to the front of the line. Your comments below. Again, like us on X, share us wherever you can on social media so we can get more great Jets content here. I thought the Jets had a nice goal line stand to keep it at 20 points late in the 4th quarter. It was a bad miss to Arian Smith late in this game from Tyrod Taylor. Look, Tyrod Taylor at least shows that you can run a functioning passing offense, but you also saw today why he's a backup quarterback, why he's not an NFL starter. I mean, there are limitations to his game. It's clear that the Jets, and this is one of those games too, where this team, I thought the effort was good. I thought they played hard, but it's one of those games where you can clearly see the talent disparity between the Jets and other teams and the quarterback disparity. And this was one of those games where in these close games, when you don't have a great quarterback, unfortunately, you're going to have to make your own luck and not make big mistakes. And again, right now, the Jets are making mistakes with penalties. The 4th and 2 call at this point in the season, you're this team. I know people will argue, well, it's on your own side of the field. You're giving the Ravens a field goal position. Look, this team, they're not going anywhere. I'd rather see what they can do on 4th and 2. I thought the defense was playing well enough today. So we'll get to some of your comments. Again, super chat to jump to the front of the line. Let's go over some of the box score again today. I mean, the Jets had more offensive yards than the Ravens today, 282 to 241. More passing yards. Ravens more rushing. Again, Jets 4.9 yards per play, Ravens 4.2. But you look at the big things in this game. 4th down, Jets were 0 of 2, Ravens 2 of 2. You look at the turnovers, of course, and the penalties. Ravens 5 for 30, Jets 6 for 81, and 34 of them coming on that one Isaiah Oliver play. which was crucial. And look, the fumbles lost and the interception. Again, the interception was at the end of the game. They're trying to make a play. The one thing I will say with the fumble, because I see a lot of people ripping Breece, that was just a really good defensive play. And you could tell Aaron Glenn hugging him after that play. Like, Breece, I think, is just trying to make a play. I think Breece realized if he doesn't get in the end zone, the Jets likely aren't scoring. And look, that's got to be a frustrating thing. I love the effort, but that was also just a really good defensive play. You saw what a great defense can do. And if you're the Jets, you got to show that clip in practice, because if you watch that clip back, the defensive back is holding Breece up. It allows another player to come in there and pull the ball out. If the Jets are not going to be able to force interceptions, they got to force fumbles. That, to me, is a really great play by a defensive play. And, it's frustrating. Breece has put the ball on the ground a couple times, but at the same time, you saw the explosiveness today, 74 yards receiving. And at this point, look, I think it's clear that Aaron Glenn and the staff love Breece. They're finally utilizing him. Again, I don't get why he's not on the field on 4th and 2, but a lot of the time I think he's just getting so much work. To me, Breece Hall has to be a part of this team. He has to be a part of this team, whether it's the transition tag, a franchise tag, or a long-term extension. Like, to me, it's clear. They need him as a building point, and they need a player like him to lean on. I mean, you look at Detroit today, Jahmyr Gibbs is running all over the New York Giants. You need a player like that in this team. And again, super chat to jump to the front of the line. Comments and questions below. But today I thought, and again, hey, Tony, good to hear from you as always. Tony, big listener of the show. Love to have his comments on here as well. I thought today, though, was a very interesting display today. And at this point in the season, where the Jets are, you look for the positives, you look for the building. Look, I thought the defense played really well today. That's a really good offense. You can tell that the Jets are undermanned, especially on the back end. But I thought that this was a great effort. It's clear that the Jets have made a very good effort in stopping the run. I think they've done a good job with this run defense. But again, it's frustrating on the other side. Jets still don't have an interception, 11 games without a takeaway. And look, Aaron Glenn on the fumble, they made a good play. They took him out of it. S happens. So, it's a tough loss. Obviously, I thought this was a great point. But I also said coming into this game, I talked on Friday, this to me didn't seem like a winnable game. Like, I look at Atlanta, I look at the Dolphins, I look at like 2 or 3 games on the Jaguars. Those are games I feel like the Jets, like that is more in their weight class, especially with the quarterback situation. If they can continue to bring this effort and continue to build off of this, I think that will be very telling. I do think the Jets are still going to win a couple games down the stretch here because, again, this is a very tough team. And look, Glenn even said the reason he went 4 on 4th and 2, they liked the way the defense was playing. Again, the game was starting to shift at that point, but I still think he looked at it saying the defense was playing well. But, it's a weird game too because this is a clearly talented Ravens team. I don't think they played great today, but there was good moments from Tyrod. There was bad moments from Tyrod. But the big thing you want to look at this is evaluation. The next 6 weeks are all about evaluation. And you look at some good things. John Mechie had a really good game today. I think John Mechie is making a very strong case. Again, 2 consecutive weeks with touchdowns. I really love it. Again, I love the story for this kid, especially with what he's been through. But you're looking right now, maybe not a number 2, but I say he's a number 3 receiver, a slot receiver for this team next year, the way he's playing? That's certainly a possibility. I look at Brownlee having another strong game. I look at A.Z. Thomas having another strong game as well. I look at these pieces, and I look at some of the guys that they've brought in, and it is encouraging with this team and some of the pieces. And that gets me to the overall theme I wanted to get to in this episode. I'll talk a little bit more about the individuals. We can talk about Mechie. We can talk about A.D. Mitchell. But one thing I think was very clear. This was a have and have not game. And one thing we noticed today was the players that had good games that we think are looking really good are guys that Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji have brought in. You look at Mechie, you look at A.Z. Thomas, you look at the defense, the run stopping, Jawan Briggs, a big sack in this game. the players they have brought in are playing well and have made an impact. The players that hurt this team, ironically, are from the old regime today. Now, Breece had the fumble. He's from the old regime. But again, like I said earlier, I don't put on him. That was just a really great play from the defense. And that happens. It's frustrating because it happens against the Jets a lot, but it happens. But who are some of the killers today? Isaiah Oliver, the 34-yard penalty. Again, Jets are thin in the secondary. We know they're not great at safety, but 34-yard penalty, he's a remnant of the Saleh regime. You look at, Jamie and Sherwood, even though he led the team in tackles, a lot of mistakes. Had that play where he had a chance to get on a sack, on a blitz, that second Ravens touchdown drive, couldn't finish that off. To me, Quincy looks like a different player since they sat him down. And at this point, I think you have to have serious conversations about, do you keep Quincy and do you move off of Sherwood? And one thing I will say about this regime is they've been quick to move off mistakes. They've been quick to realize, hey, this isn't working. I mean, even look at training camp, the veteran players they brought in, not working. Let's see what we can get for them. I do think there's a world where Jamie and Sherwood is not on the New York Jets, even if it costs them money, even if they don't get a great value pick. I just wonder if it was a situation where they came in, they looked at it saying it's a mid-20s player, it's someone that is an ascending player and that they thought might fit in this defense, and it looks like he's struggling. And the other one was Tony Adams. And the hard part is, and I saw this all over X today and social media, I don't want to see Tony Adams again. I don't want to see Michael Clemens again. The problem is, who are you bringing in? Who are you bringing in? Like Dean Clark from the practice squad? The Jets already have injuries, and they're already thin. And I hate to tell people this. The people on the street you're bringing in at this point in November, there's a reason they're available in November. So I just look at this. The one thing I look for, if you want to have some positivity about this team and you want to have some gleam of hope, the players that they have brought in seem to be fitting very well. And look, you look to Saunders got to play today. Mozzie Smith was sat. It was not sat, but not active for this game. But look, I think Mechie has shown a lot. I'd like to see more consistency from A.D. Mitchell. Obviously, we saw another big play for him in this game. You need to see more consistency. And they're going to get a lot of reps. If I'm the Jets, I'm not playing Garrett Wilson again this season. I'm giving a lot of targets to those two and Mason Taylor. Like, that is the way I'm going about this season. But I think you're going to see a lot of roster turnover. And it's also clear, too, like, not to say that the guys from the previous regime were all bad, but it's clear that what they're looking for, and it's clear that they have certain player types that they're looking for. I mean, they moved off of Sauce Gardner. They're moving off of Quinnen. I think that this regime, at least, is telling you on the surface that if they don't believe a guy or make a mistake, they will pivot. And you're looking slowly but surely this defense, which, again, when we looked at the start of the season, was absolutely atrocious and is undermanned. And I don't think it's a lot of talent, but you're seeing some flashes now, and you're seeing some consistency with the players that they brought in, and you feel like, okay, they have at least some strong foundation in there. You look at this, A.D. Mitchell had a nice play for the 25 yards today. This, too, is you look at this defense, they had opportunities, but, I mean, Jamie and Sherwood, big miss today. Again, when you're getting paid this type of money and you got the big contract this offseason, you have to finish those plays. And you wonder now, looking Quincy the way he's been playing with his hair on fire, if he wants to come back or if they can keep him. I think you have to. But I think you're going to see a lot of turnover in this roster in this offseason. Like guys like Isaiah Oliver, Tony Adams. I mean, you're not going to be able to turn over every rock in one offseason, but I think what you will see is a lot of guys, especially on this defense, get moved. And there might be some surprises here. Like, I like Jermaine Johnson. I think Jermaine Johnson could be a piece, but we'll have to see how Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn evaluate him. I like Will McDonald a lot. I think he is an elite pass rusher, and he's a specialist, but maybe they view like they can get better value. I mean, the Jets are going to have a lot of pieces this offseason, and don't be surprised if you see them move a lot of big pieces already on this team. They've already done that. They've moved Sauce Gardner. They moved Quinnen Williams. Like, if I was to tell you before the season, The Jets are going to move Sauce Gardner and Quinnen at the deadline. Maybe Quinnen because of the guaranteed money, but a lot of you would have said there's no way they're trading Sauce Gardner. But look, it's a frustrating game. I mean, the thing right now as we go down the stretch, as we look for the big picture for the Jets. And I think that you saw some good flashes. I thought Tanner Engstrom was finally incorporating Breece Hall into the passing game, which we've been screaming about for weeks. So just taking a quick. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. My throat's a little bit raw. I've been, I do some public address announcing on the side, and it's been a crazy weekend. So if you hear me having some water just to rehydrate, that's why. But let's get to some of your comments against Super Chat to jump to the front of the line. Tony Alexios needs to stop gambling. The poor decision on the fourth down again. At this point in the season, I'm all for it. They're down. They need to get answers. And I do think Mechie does look like a good piece. And I was really high on the kid coming out of the draft, so I'm really good that they made that pick. Keep it simple, RC. A lot to like, even with the loss. Offense looks competent. Look, offensive line continues to play well. I think you have some nice pieces. It's clear the Jets still have pieces to add. But I can say this over the last 15 years, this to me feels like the best foundation for the offense that they've had in a very long time. They haven't had great offensive lines since basically the Brickashaw Ferguson and Nick Mangold. They haven't had a lot of great weapons. And look, I still think there's some weapons they're going to need to add. But this does seem like an offense that once you get a quarterback in here can be functional. And you saw it with Tyrod. Again, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't phenomenal. And you could see the warts in Tyrod's game. But Tyrod Taylor outthrew Lamar Jackson today. Lamar Jackson was 13-23 for 153 yards. Tyrod Taylor was 17-20 for 222 yards. I mean, he had a higher rating than Lamar Jackson. I don't think any of us saw that happening today. But you saw the big reason why I wanted Tyrod in there. Because, again, I know what Tyrod is. He's a backup quarterback. Long-term, he's a below-average starter. But you saw in the passing game, Breece had 75 yards in the passing game. Mechie had 6 catches for 65 in the touchdown and a nice touchdown catch. Adonai Mitchell had 2 for 42. 3-21 for Mason Taylor. I mean, the Jets threw the ball 28 times. That's really not a lot in today's NFL, but this is a team that with Justin Fields, if you got to 15 or 20 attempts, you would be surprised. And look, you're getting a clear picture today of what this team needs. And look, I thought this defense, I thought Quincy had a good game. I thought A.Z. Thomas had a nice game. Jamie Sherwood, again, leads the team in tackles, but I didn't think he had a good game. Too many missed opportunities out there. So let's get into some more of your questions against Super Chat to donate to the channel and jump to the front of the line. I don't mind playing Dean Clark. I was big on Dean Clark. Again, at this point, Adams can't tackle. He can't pursue. He can't cover. I don't know what he does. I do think Mechie is a keeper. And look, Mechie to me, he's quicker than fast. He's what you want in a good number 3. I think he could be a really good slot for this team. He's a good possession receiver. He has good hands. And look, he's a good route runner. I think he's limited with his athleticism. I don't think he can really be your number 2. And I don't think you really want him to be your number 2. But he would be a good number 3. You want to see if A.D. Mitchell or Arian Smith, but probably more Mitchell, can become this team's 4th, but becomes more this team's outside deep threat. And then you look for a number 2. I'm of the opinion you should probably get more of a savvy number 2 or a veteran number 2, especially if you're going to have a young quarterback. But that will definitely be a debate, which we will have. Briggs and Phillips have looked good. I'm excited to see what Saunders can do down the stretch as well. Big athletic, big man. And look, the draft so far, yes, there's misses. I think Tyler Barron was a miss, obviously. Arian Smith has left a lot to be desired. But, I mean, your first 3 picks look like solid NFL players. And on day 3, can you have some rotational players? I think Kiko is a good early down linebacker. I think you have a role for him. So, overall, I think they've done a very good job. And, look, the big thing, too, is I think this is a good conversation. Keep it simple because I think a lot of people are saying, well, why can't they force the turnover? Why can't they? And I think right now with this defense is you have a lot of tough physical defender corners where you can lock up receivers. I think AZ Thomas could work on the ball skills. Brandon Stevens, again, we know has issues with the ball skills, but I thought was solid today. Brownlee's another guy too. Like, I think what this team needs and what you're going to see them is ball hawking safeties that can create pressure and linebackers that can create more pressure in the pass rush. Part of the problem with the Jets defense is, and they've been getting better on 3rd and long because they've been good against the run, is generating a consistent pass rush and really just creating disruptions, which I also think too, they just don't have good safety play. You don't have safeties where you can double up the coverage. Like, again, I think with Malachi Moore, he's more of a strong safety. I think he'll eventually be more of a early running down safety. But again, I think they need a really big ball hawk. And look, it's incredible that they're not going to be able to get the interceptions. It's just it's insane. If I was to tell you what would happen, that this would happen, I don't think anyone would believe it. But it's clear they need a lot of work. The offensive line will be better next year's QB's best friend, perfect for grooming a young passer. It definitely will be something to unleash Brady Cook and hope. Look, my prediction, Tony, is I think they have a plan for him. Justin Fields is the backup right now. My thought is you have 6 games left. I think that they're going to give him a lot of reps in practice. I believe they're probably going to bring him in the last 3 games. I think the landing spot probably be with the Saints. That's what I would think for. We fought hard, but that, Mr. Vaughn, again, I think you should change the name. So I'm not going to get on Breece for that. Look, I think it was clear he was trying to make a play. He's trying to get in the end zone. I think part of the thing, too, is he's been so desperate to get in the end zone. Look, I love the attitude that he's trying to score on that play. But let's be honest, it was a killer. But that, to me, wasn't necessarily on Breece. It was more on a great defensive play and great defensive technique. And again, if I'm the Jets, I'm showing that field to my DBs. I'm showing that to AC Thomas. I'm showing it to Brownlee. Like, guys, you got to gang tackle. You got to get to the ball. And when the running back's still up, punch it, kick it, rip it out. That was just a really good defensive play. So, again, it's frustrating. It's something you don't want to see. But overall, I don't put it on Breece on that play because, again, it's not like he had bad security. He's trying to churn it. He could have maybe gone to the ground. But, I mean, let's be honest, too. Breece Hall was the best weapon the Jets had on the field today. I mean, he was definitely the big focal point of this offense. And if he's the big focal point, it makes everyone's easier. I think it's going to make Mason Taylor have more catches. It's going to open up the wide receiving room as well. Again, Super Chat to jump to the front of the line. But those are my thoughts on there. That, Tony, is also a very key thing. And I've talked about this. And Dom C., friend of the channel, great Jets YouTuber, highly recommend him. We're going to have him on a lot when we talk about the draft. He is something that I do think is important. The Jets cleaned out all their scouting, even scouts from 15 years. And one, I think, good sign that things are changing is the NFL scouting, because you have obviously your collegiate scouts, but you also have your NFL scouts that are evaluating other teams and situations. And it's clear that the Jets have done a really good job of in-season scouting and also really paying attention to teams and going to teams where they have an abundance of depth. I mean, Jawan Briggs, they targeted him because they saw there was an abundance of depth with the Browns at the defensive tackle position. They took advantage of it. With the Eagles, they saw a guy that wasn't getting a lot of reps. And with, A.D. Mitchell, they traded Sauce Gardner. As we all know, the big thing was the picks, but that was a very key add-on for them. It's why don't we take a flyer on someone as well? And look, I do think the fumbles are becoming a concern. It's something that I think Breece is going to have to work on. Again, I think a lot of today wasn't the security. It was just he was trying to make a play. And look, it's frustrating. And you bring up an interesting point with Fields. I mean, the accountability to me is he's been benched. And I get where you're coming from, but Aaron Glenn has said that they have a plan for Brady Cook. I think that the thing with Brady Cook, and we have to remember this, he's not only a rookie, he's an undrafted rookie. I think that they want to put him in the best position as possible. Now, personally, I've said on this channel, what I would have done was try to sign a veteran. I would just have made Justin Fields inactive and just, brought in a veteran to back up. That's what I would have done. They didn't do that. I understand the unknown. I understand that Brady Cook is, but the ceiling for Brady Cook, we have to remember, is can he be the backup Jets quarterback? If he looks like he can be a solid backup or the third stringer next year, if you bring in a young guy and a veteran, that's what you're hoping for. And right now with Tyrod Taylor, I feel like you just got to ride it till the wheels come off again. He gets banged up. I do think Brady Cook is going to play at some point this year. I really do. But I think what the Jets are going to look for is they want to get more of a bigger picture of evaluating Mechie, of evaluating A.D. Mitchell. And once they feel they have enough data or enough analysis, they'll eventually make the move. I think realistically, the Jets look at the schedule too and look, they want to win games, this staff too. They want to go down the stretch and win some games. Do you look at next week, Falcons at home? Is that a game they can win? Potentially. Dolphins at home, maybe siphon off a win or two. You have the Jaguars, a winnable game. The other thing too is do you also maybe move Brady Cook in against the Jaguars or against the Saints, again, road games, but maybe teams you feel you have better success? Because the last two games of the season, we have to remember too, are against the Patriots. The Patriots have a good defense. Do you really want to throw an undrafted rookie against the Patriots, even though it's a home game? That could be a game that could kill his confidence. And then the Bills game, I mean, let's be honest too, Jets at Buffalo, January 4th. What I thought would be a game where Buffalo would sit everyone. You look at the AFC right now and you look at the state of the Bills. Bills are probably going to be playing for key playoff position that week. Maybe the division, probably not. But they could be playing to be the 5 or 7 seed. And again, seeding does matter in the NFL playoffs. So I do think that is a game to keep an eye on. But again, I understand the infatuation with Brady Cook. But at the same time, I think just let the kid play. And again, Tony, I mean, it's obvious, Tony. But, I mean, Brady Cook, if he goes in there and can't complete a pass – we have to wait. Again, Brady Cook, I don't think is saving the Jets at this season. Is a nothing burger. We need to sign 2 vets next year and draft a QB. Maybe draft a QB consecutive years just to make sure you get right. Look, there's going to be a lot of options. I'll talk about, again, I've been breaking down the film. The hard part with talking about the future quarterbacks for the Jets in the draft, and I know we want to talk about it, we don't know who's coming out. And we don't know how these quarterbacks are going to look in the college football playoff. That, to me, is going to be a big barometer. I mean, Fernando Mendoza, if he does not play well and looks intimidated and looks rattled in the playoff game and they lose in the first playoff game, I think that's going to have an impact on his draft. Dante from Oregon, I really love the kid, but there's a good chance he goes back to school for another year. I mean, you have to wait to see who actually declares and comes out. And look, there could be a scenario where the Jets have to bring in a veteran. I still think the Jets will draft a quarterback. Even if they don't draft a quarterback in the first round, I think there's a scenario they draft one early day 3, just so they have someone to put in and develop or at least take a shot on. But I just look at this team right now. The big thing I will say with the quarterbacks is this, and I think it's very important when we talk about Fernando Mendoza, because I do like him as a prospect. I think he's got a very good floor. I think he can be a solid NFL quarterback. But here's the thing. You have to, as an organization, evaluate these kids. And you also have to look at your conference. Because you can have okay quarterback play and be a viable franchise. You can win 7 to 8 games. But if you want to be a team that is consistent every single year and a team that makes the playoffs, you need a quarterback that can compete with the best of the best. And you look right now, Jared Goff, who I know Mendoza's getting a lot of comps to. You know what, Jared Goff in the NFC, that works because there's not a ton of great quarterbacks right now in the NFC. You look at the AFC, just in this division alone, 4 times a year, which is basically a quarter of your schedule, you are playing Drake May or Josh Allen. You need to look at the draft and say, can the kid we're drafting in a year or two go toe-to-toe with those guys? If the answer is no, then you have to have serious questions. And not just this division. You played against a good one today, Lamar Jackson. You have Joe Burrow coming back. You have in the West, just in the West, Bo Nix, Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert. You have really not only good, but great quarterbacks in the AFC. And the ones I just mentioned, do you notice the number? That was about 7 or 8. Do you know how many playoff spots there are every year? About 7 or 8. Yeah, there'll be outliers. Daniel Jones this year with the Colts. Again, I need to see a little bit more. And again, I've seen Daniel Jones have great runs. I mean, he went on a run like this with the Giants that come to the playoffs in a playoff win. But I need to see more. Late to the party, but still in our hearts, it's Latin Ruben. Good to hear from you, Latin Ruben. Game was watchable thanks to – look, you had an offense today. This wasn't the service academy today. You actually could watch football, which was refreshing. So, again, I totally agree with that, Latin Ruben. And it allowed you to evaluate key players. Not loving Dante Moore. He played a couple games at UCLA, then this year with Oregon. Not enough tape for proper evaluation. But, again, the hard thing is going to be Ty Simpson, keep it simple. I mean, Ty Simpson is going to have 1 year tape. And, again, I like a lot of the things he does at Alabama. I think he's great. But the one thing I also always go back to with Alabama is how many great players Alabama have. Now, again, I think it's a little bit different than the Saban era, but it also helps too when you have a lot of 5-star receivers to throw to. And the other thing too is if you are going to trade up, you have to be certain. You have to be absolutely 1,000% certain. And I don't really think there's that home run in this draft. And again, I know everyone's saying we just punted 2027. The hard part with that is the process and the evaluation changed so much. Think of it this 3 months ago. We thought Arch Manning was the slam dunk home run first round pick in this draft. Not going to happen. When we came into the season, we thought Drew Aller could potentially be a top 10 pick. He's going to be lucky to be a 3rd or 4th round pick next year, especially after the injury. Things change so fast in this league. And now at the NIL, with people moving around and getting new systems and going to new teams, it is harder than ever to really evaluate them. Keep it simple. It's very simple. He's under a 2-year contract. You're going to have to trade. But the question is, do you trade a 4th and a 6th, 4th and a 5th for Mac Jones? And the other thing, too, with Mac Jones, and I like him. I think he's better than a lot of the options that are out there. But here's the thing. It's one thing to look good with Kyle Shanahan. How's it going to look with Tanner Engstrom? And how's it going to look with a guy that isn't a offensive savant? Like, that's something you really have to look at. Well, Tank, again, I personally, my thoughts on Tankathon, I just worry about the draft when they get to the end of the season. I mean, again, there's still a lot to play. The Jets, again, this is a great example. The Jets, the Giants are ahead of the Jets right now. But again, they've played an extra game. The Jets have also played an extra game than the Jets. The Giants still have their bye. Tennessee's 1-10. I mean, the big thing is if Tennessee finishes number 1, they're not taking a quarterback. So you have New Orleans, of course, at 2-8. You have Washington at 3-8. You have Vegas recording. They would be the 3rd pick. But again, there's still a lot of games left to go. And I just think you have to make it work from where you're picking. You have to make it work. If you're rooting for the Jets, all the time, like I just look at it too, like you want them out there. And, if I'm also looking at it too, I thought Jameis Winston played a heck of a game today for the Giants. Like I think they'd be silly to let Jameis Winston go. And again, I'm trying to remember if I believe Winston signed a 2-year deal with the Giants. And again, there's a lot of good and a lot of bad that comes with Jameis Winston. But if he's available. Now, granted, I don't think the Giants would do it, especially trade him to the Jets. Yes, he signed a 2-year contract. And yeah, I don't think the Giants are going to move him at all. I think you have to blow away because the thing is, they're not paying Winston anything. His cap hit is $3 million this year, $5 million next year. They're paying him nothing. So the only thing they want to back to Jackson Dar's already had a couple of concussions early in his career. I think that would be a good downs, the fourth down on the field. I did think there were some interesting play calls. I like the Arian Smith end around for 8 yards. Again, I think they're finding gadgets for him in there. Again, some more comments from the Jets. Breece Hall just got to be better with ball security. Tyrod Taylor, locker room hates losing. John Mechie asked about Tyrod Taylor helping me get up to speed. It's a good feeling. The guys are passionate about the craft and getting up to speed. It's one of the things too, they just got to get back to work. And the defense too, Aaron Glenn on the referees too. I think refs look at our guys just in general before every game. They come and they talk to both head coaches. Just seems like look at some of those calls, and I think for the most part, sometimes these calls are questionable calls in my opinion, but they make them. The one on the IO was tough. The one AZ was tough. But you know what? Refs make the call. We've got to be able to overcome that. I think that's a good answer. But again, I thought, until I guess the Jets win games, refs are going to call things differently, which again, I hate. But that's what I thought. So again, more questions. Super chat to jump to the front of the line. Let's see. I don't think they're firing the QB coach. I think Wilkes will be fired. Again, I think Aaron Glenn has enough defensive connections around the league. He can get DC. I think it almost felt like Wilkes, too, was kind of just to help him ease into the head coaching position. So, again, I think that is something. I agree. That's the other problem, too. This team goes 4-13 next year. It's also this, if the Jets are horrible next year, 3 or 4 wins, then it becomes, is it better to get rid of the staff now and bring in a new coach and GM with 3 first-round picks? I mean, that's the thing. You can't just keep punting down the road. Danger Zone. Again, great show on Friday, as always. Again, Danger Zone, hit me up. Let's try to do another collab sometime very soon. Jets' best case scenario today, a middling offense, a loss, and losses by teams we beat. Yeah, I think overall today, Danger Zone, you want to see progress. And like I've said, the theme to me of this episode is this, especially as we go down the stretch, I got to look at the big picture. Game by game is important, but the big picture is how are the guys that they've brought in? And again, a Danger Zone super chat. Thank you. All I want to say, keep that. We love your post-game insights. Hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you, Danger Zone, for that great super chat again. Hit me up sometime soon. We're definitely going to have him on the show, especially during the offseason talking the draft. I do think, too, that when I look at this, going off of Danger's early question, the big thing for me is this. I look at the guys that had rough games today. Who were they? They were the former players that this team inherited. Tony Adams had a rough game. Isaiah Oliver had a rough game. I think that Sherwood has had rough games. And look, Quincy, I think, has played a lot better. I would try to extend him this offseason. But I look at the guys they brought in. Jawan Briggs has made an impact in the run defense, and he's had surprisingly decent pass rush ability that I didn't see in his tape. A couple of sacks already this year. Harrison Phillips has been a really good locker room, very good leader that they brought in on this team. Brownlee, when he's playing in the slot, has been a really nice fit. I think AZ Thomas has looked like he is a competent corner in the NFL, which is important. I think that even the guy, I'm curious to see how the new defensive tackles look. Again, Mozzie Smith was not active today, but they brought in John Mechie as a throw-in to the they brought in Mechie as a throw-in trade to basically move off of Michael Carter. I mean, that's the thing. They improved their draft position, and they moved off of Michael Carter, who was going to be a expensive corner that wasn't going to be playing this year, and also gets them out of from Cunningham and allows Stevens more playing time. So, Mechie was a throw-in. And if Mechie is a team's top 3 receiver, which I think he has the potential to be a nice number 3, that is a really good move. And look, you're going to see this team. They're going to have frustrating performances. But I'll also be honest with you too, guys. There was a part of me that thought that this team was going to get dog walked by the Ravens because the Ravens clearly have a better quarterback. They clearly have a great defense. They're a team that, again, hit a rough snag in the road because they had an unfortunate injury to their franchise quarterback. But I thought the Jets really had a really good, again, even a middling offense. Like the Jets offense couldn't move the football for weeks with Justin Fields. They were able to go up and down the field at points then. Again, I understand the points are where you want them to be, but you actually watched something that looked like football today, that looked like a semblance of a football game, where before it wasn't the case. It was, I'm watching the Service Academy Bowl special. Yeah, again, it's one of those things too that I hate in the NFL is the flopping. And look, Tony, I mean, I look at the upgrades. I think Brownlee has been an upgrade. I think that, Mechie looks solid. And look, Mitchell adds a little oomph to this room. You see the ability he brings. Like, we were begging this team. Like, again, I took so many messages on this channel about how frustrated we were with the wide receiver room, with the lack of depth, not getting a defensive tackle. Look, this team went about it in a different way, but they've filled a lot of holes quietly this season. Like when we came into the first week, we were worried that this was going to be one of the worst run defenses. And in the start of the season, it was bad, but they've settled in with the pieces that they brought in through trades and free agency. You look at this wide receiver room. I mean, there was a time too where, think about this 4 weeks ago. If they don't make the moves for Mechie and they don't make the move for A.D. Mitchell. And again, these are guys that you see have some talent, have some upside, add some oomph. Who would the Jets be playing at wide receiver today? Like, think about this. Like, we're talking about them instead of going in with Mechie and A.D. Mitchell, who you can at least say by the bare minimum are NFL receivers. They're going in with what? Isaiah Williams, Alan Lazard, Tyler Johnson maybe, or Arian Smith. To me, that would be, but the Jets have added a lot of really nice pieces throughout this game. And I agree. I think this game was closer. The Jets stood on their head. They held it close. And you can see too, when you're on the road against a talented team and you have a below average quarterback and you don't have elite weapons, it's going to be a struggle. And that was the case today for the Jets. Again, Super Chat to jump to the front of the line. Ladin Rubin, what do you do with Simpson, AVT, and Myers? Gut sizzling AVT walk will be the Mets giving up on Zach. I think that's different, though, because, again, Zach, don't get me started on the Mets because I'm a huge Met fan. I'm going to talk more Mets this offseason, but Zach Wheeler didn't leave the Mets because of that. Zach Wheeler left because Brody Van Wagenen was a moron and also decided that, he had to get his clients in there. Again, don't even get me started there. So let me get back on track here with you, Ruben. So let me go position by position. Let me start on the left side. John Simpson is someone I would like to resign, and of all the guys, I think he deserves a long-term contract. Simpson's in an interesting position, though, because it's what he wants. If he likes playing for the Jets, he seemingly likes to play for the Jets. He seemingly likes Aaron Glenn. That, to me, will be important. Again, it also comes down to the number with Simpson, because the problem with Simpson is this, and I like John Simpson a lot. I think John Simpson is a very nice player, but here is the thing. NFL free agency is a circus every single year. Because guess what? Bad teams get rid of bad contracts. They have a ton of cap space, including the Jets are one of those teams. But you see teams that all of a sudden get desperate. And John Simpson is going to be a 28-year-old guard, and the Jets have a decision. Do you think you're going to get the same value out of him? And again, he's made only 19. He's only, but again, he's made 19. So this season with the signing bonus, he's going to make a little over $5 million. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Could I see a team, because finding even solid offensive linemen is such a tricky thing, could I see a team go nuts and say, okay, Jets want to offer him, let's say 12 to 14 million, like for a 3 or 4 year contract, which again is definitely an up in pay. But you look at the market, I mean, Robert Hunt, like a couple of years ago, got 20 million a year as a guard. I mean, John Simpson goes to the market and there's so many bad teams. Could you not see him maybe getting a contract? Someone goes nuts and says, his agent might just tell him, look, John, I know the market. You're still going to be in your 20s. You could make $15 to $20 million. In a weird way, that's good too, because then the Jets at least get a comp out of it. But that to me is what comes down to, is the money with Simpson. Myers, I think, is a more affordable option. Again, he's been okay as a center. I don't think he's going to break the bank. Do you bring him in on like a 2 or 3 year contract, maybe a little bump in pay? I think that's good. Again, even at the worst case, I'd keep him because he's a good backup. He can play guard. He can play center. Just having that depth was key. And you saw it already. When AVT went down, you had that depth in place, which made you feel a lot better. AVT is the interesting one, because I think AVT is the most likely to come back. But a lot of this also depends on how the team views Tippmann. And I've said this throughout the offseason. I have felt that this regime has felt that Tippmann is a guard. And you also look at what Aaron Glenn's trying to do in the trenches. He wants big physical bodies. And not to say AVT isn't. But if he thinks Tippmann is a better guard who's also, again, under control, younger, and has proven to be more durable, does it make sense to do that? Now, again, the easy answer is that John Simpson leaves in free agency to get a massive contract. Keeping AVT, becomes a little bit more of a key. Now, the big thing with AVT is I think it comes down to a 1 year contract. Can he get back to health, and can he have a good season with the Jets? Because for him, I think you know the system, you can play with this team, they're going to run the football, which is your strength. It makes sense, I think, for both parties to come together on a 1 year contract. And again, AVT's a free agent at the end of the year. You can't trade him. Matchup nightmare. Good one, danger zone. You look to 0 games left. Proposed AVT and Falele as depth. Let Simpson walk. Simpson has been a good guard for the Jets. I know he had the penalty today. It's hard to get good offensive linemen in this league. I mean, look at how hard it is, and I just think that you don't want to lose good players like that. Now, again, his PFF grade this year hasn't been phenomenal, but it's just another piece you have to add. So the big thing comes down to what John Simpson could make on the free agency market. And the problem with free agency market it goes up every single year, and you look to, like, they're saying, like, early, like, again, he's making $5 million. They're saying he should make close to $10 million, which, again, I think is a bit low. I know he's not like a Pro Bowler, but this is someone that, again, is going to go into free agency. And look, if you're John Simpson too, it makes sense to test the market, because you've already made a good amount of money in the NFL, $19 million. But let's be fair, this is your last bite at the apple. Like, if you want that big contract to really take care of you and your family, like, this is the opportunity to do so. And look, you can't fault players who want to do that. If he can get the money from somewhere, he deserves it. With multiple firsts and seconds, we can find. That's the other thing too. And look, you have solutions in-house. You have Myers already here as center. Can you re-sign him? And if he walks, I think it becomes really easy with AVT. You sign AVT to a 1-year deal, and then you draft on early day 3 a developmental interior offensive lineman who can play maybe a little guard, a little center. And again, that gives you some flexibility because look, if AVT is healthy and you can give him a contract, that's great. Again, I think if you give him a massive 1-year contract, I don't think he's going to go anywhere because I don't think a team will take a risk on AVT. But they'll do like Mekhi Becton. They'll be like, okay, we'll give you 1 year, $5-6 million. If I'm the Jets, like take care of him, give him like a $9-10 million 1-year deal. Again, it's 1-year contract, so it's not going to kill them long term. And you can replace a guard. The big thing with the Jets is they found their tackles. And when you find the tackles, everything becomes a lot easier because you can kick tackles into guards. I mean, we've seen it with Mekhi Becton. We've seen talented offensive linemen who struggle on the outside, but then become really great on the inside. I think one of the best examples, in my opinion, for NFL history is Robert Gallery with the Raiders. I mean, and it's unfortunate because many consider him a bust in the National Football League. And again, where he was drafted, you would say yes. But at the same time, he became a really great guard for the Raiders, played for them a long time. And if I was to tell teams, look, you're going to draft this kid like with the 20th pick and the overall in the draft, but he's going to play your interior offensive line at a high level for 10 to 12 years, every team in the National Football League would sign up for that. Promise when you're drafting the top 5 to be a left tackle, it's definitely something else. But again, I do think you can replace guard. I do think it's a position. And look, who knows what this Jet team thinks about this interior. Now, I know Max Mitchell is someone that I don't view long-term, but it's clear the Jets value him because they've been playing him in the 6-down offensive line sets. I'm trying to also think too, with the Jets, I can never say the name. The tackle they got from the Patriots, Chukwuamu. I'm trying to think, did he sign a 2-year contract or is it a 1-year contract? I'm gonna have to check in on that. I could have sworn it is a 1-year deal. Okay, so it is a 1-year contract. So he'll probably walk in then this season. But look, I mean, if I'm the Jets, one rule I kind of have, everyone talks about the draft the quarterback every year. I am almost of the opinion you should draft an offensive lineman every year. It's something too where I look at this defense, and I brought up earlier in the show, and again, they weren't a part of the original regime, but do I see a world where Sherwood and Adams? I don't think Adams is here. I think Adams is a goner. I think Isaiah Oliver is a goner. I think they're layovers from the previous regime. But Tony also brings up a very interesting point too. Do you go another Raven? Tyler Linderbaum, who I love. And again, that's another possibility. If you lose out on John Simpson, but you had Linderbaum, who's 25. The Ravens tend to move off of offensive linemen in free agency. Like, again, could you imagine you put him on that line next to Tippmann? That's another interesting thing. Like, the Jets might view Linderbaum like there's a world where they sign AVT to a 1-year deal, move him to left guard, which again was his original position and his position where he was drafted out of USC. You keep Myers as your swing, and then you have Tippmann as your guard. I mean, there's a lot of different options that the Jets could go. And again, I like that from Tony, thinking outside the box. And the thing, too, with Tippmann, when he was coming out, I always worried about the leverage. Because, again, when you look at great centers, they tend to be a bit shorter. Like Linderbaum is a great example. Linderbaum's 6'2". You need that lower leverage, especially against the D tackles, because where you're firing out, you need to get underneath. Like, that's why you see great centers like Kelsey. They tend to be a little bit on the shorter side. The Tippmann thing where I always thought he had troubles with, again, maybe the leverage, part of the snaps that he's trying to get out of that snap to get the leverage, is when you're 6'6" as a center. Like, that's a big center. So to get that leverage is tricky. Where on the outside, when you're the guard, you don't have to worry about getting that low leverage. So I think that's something to definitely keep an eye on as well. But, I'm just checking out some of the games right now. Again, the Giants game was crazy. I mean, that's a defense that can't finish a game as well. I mean, that's crazy too. I think he will, but it's one of those things too. Linderbaum's 25. He's still like an ascending player. I think Simpson, you're getting to that 28-year-old range. And look, I think it is hard to finding a great center and great tackles is very difficult. Guards, you can kind of plug and play around with. Like, if the Jets lost out on John Simpson but added Linderbaum, I would not be upset. I really wouldn't. Again, Simpson's going to be 28 years old. And it comes down to this too. And maybe I'm a little bit weird thinking this way, but I kind of think with GMs, and again, he wasn't signed also by this regime, which I also think plays a factor. When you look at contracts, when you look at the laws of averages, if you hit on it the first time and you have a good contract, how often do you usually get the same result the second time? Because usually the second time, you're going to have to up the value for two reasons. Number one, the player has played well for you, and also the market has increased. But now that player is older. Does it make sense to take that gamble again? And that was one of the reasons why I looked at like signing DJ Reed with the Jets. Now, again, I think he didn't really fit the type of corner that Aaron Glenn was looking for. It's clear Aaron Glenn wants the bigger physical corners. But it was one of those things, too. The Jets had a home run on that contract. What were the odds he was going to continue to play at that level now 3 years older? I think that is something that when you look at contracts, you really have to do it. And look, it's going to take a lot. You're talking multiple ones. I mean, I think to move from 5, you're basically going to have to trade. You're going to have to trade ones. The question is, which ones are you trading? Without question, you're trading a 2027 one. You're probably, if you're trading the 2027 one, you're trading the Colts one because the Cowboys one, you automatically get the better Packer one. And again, maybe that's enticing to a team, but I would try to keep that. And then do you trade your multiple ones? And I mean, it's going to, let's put it this way. It's going to cost a lot. It's going to get a lot. Spin Max Dave, of course, not exactly in the best move. Hopefully Spin Max Dave can take a nice bike ride to enjoy that, you know. I mean, I don't mind Flair. I liked him as a big body coming out of the draft. Like, he could be someone. I don't mind that for Death Ruben. And you're right. Like, Linderbaum is a generational center. And one of the things, too, is one of the Jets been great. It's usually when they have a great center, Kevin Mawai, Nick Mangold. I mean, Linderbaum is, he is an exceptional center. And that's one of the reasons he got drafted so high. I mean, this is a guy who, people thought he was overdrafted, even as center. I'm like, this kid's really freaking good. I mean, this kid's really freaking. I mean, this is a guy that already he's in his 4th year. He's been a 2-time Pro Bowler. He was an AP rookie in his rookie year. He finished 7th offensive rookie of the year, and he's been a Pro Bowler the last 2 years. He's going to be a Pro Bowler again this year. So he's going to be a 3-time Pro Bowler. I almost think if the Ravens don't re-sign him, that is going to be keep Kyle Hamilton. The key. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, there's a lot of rumbling around Tyler Linderbaum, enough smoke where it's like, I don't know if the Ravens, I think the Ravens would be foolish to get rid of him, to be honest. But again, I also know the Ravens culture, and they tend to, they don't love to pay players a ton. So, but let's get to some more comments. Get Super Chat to jump to the front of the line. Yeah, I agree. Extend Breece. Not really. There's a reason they're out there DXL. I guess you're talking about next year. The hard part is I'm not sure who gets cut either. I'm looking at let me check this out really quick. It's not a good list. I remember seeing it somewhere. It's not great. Daniel Jones, obviously, I don't think it's going anywhere. Joe Flacco, do you go to him a third time? I don't think that's great. Russell Wilson, I think, is cooked. I wouldn't touch him. Marcus Mariota, I don't love. Again, I don't love all of them. I mean, Jimmy G gets hurt all the time. I don't know. It's the one interesting option that I would look at would be Tanner McKee. Like from the Eagles, again, if you could get him for a day 3 pick or maybe even 2, but again, I mean, this is someone that has been sitting in the offensive system, still very young. I would take a roll of the dice with him. Again, still only 25, 6'6", 231. He has only started one game with the Eagles. That game he threw for 4 touchdowns, of course. I mean, I would rather take a shot on him because at least there's some upside. The only other one that I'm kind of about, I mean, maybe Kenny Pickett. But again, he's been bouncing around the league too. Again, there's a reason they're out there. I don't love it. I mean, Pickett, he's been – we'll see how he does with the Raiders. I'm curious to see how he plays down the stretch if he gets an opportunity. But, I mean, there's not great options. Like even Kenny Pickett. I mean, look, there's not great options if I'm honest. Like I'm just being frank with you guys. There isn't like, oh my God, the perfect option. There's reasons they're all available. Someone to me, and A.D. Mitchell always like he's going to fall off your catch. Yeah, A.D. Mitchell needs to work on that body control line, Ruben. Look, here's my thing with the quarterback class for next year, and I've talked about this a lot. I think that the Jets will take a quarterback. There's 2 plans you can do. And especially if this quarterback class, which again is a bit thin, if the Jets don't think that there's a franchise guy, but there's a guy that could develop into a starter or be a good backup, I still think you have to take it. Now, you can get a little creative in the draft. Again, the Jets have a ton of day 3 picks. Like a couple of options that if they try to go like a Kenny Pickett or something, I would look to the draft to maybe look for a guy on day 3. You mentioned Drew Aller. I would take, if they don't, I'd take a dart throw on day 3 because I think he's got a lot of physical tools. Browns are playing right now. Giants lost. I don't know about the Saints, so don't quote me on that. But I look at like a guy like Joe Fagnano from UConn, 25 touchdowns, 1 pick this year, over 3,000 yards. I mean, I'm curious to see how he does in the bowl game. Again, older prospect, but intriguing one. I think he'd be a solid quarterback, very accurate thrower. I mean, that to me is someone I would take a dice throw. I mean, there's guys you could take a dice throw on in day 3. I think New Orleans, I don't know if New Orleans has a bye this week, not Branson. But again, those are a couple of guys that I would look forward to. And again, I don't think that there is a perfect option. I don't think that there is a slam dunk option. But if you're the Jets, you have to explore as many options as possible. But I will say this, I do feel better about them evaluating talent because I do think, again, the most important position is getting the quarterback. We all know that. And Aaron Glenn and Darren Moody are going to keep their job based on the quarterback they select. That's just how it is. But the early returns is I think they've shown that they have a good method for judging talent. And the guys they brought in, you see a plan and you at least see a pathway with some of these players. You're like, okay, I can see them being key pieces. And it's ironic today because I think the biggest guys that hurt this team today, Tony Adams, Isaiah Oliver, and, like Jamie and Sherwood, they're holdovers from the last year's team. And again, you can't fully turn over a roster and especially a culture in one off season. But I give the Jets credit. They've also gone about adding young players that have league experience, so they're not maybe taking as many risks in the draft. So we'll have to see again. Like I said, the next 6 weeks, it's all about evaluation. And look, I'm seeing some progress from Mechie. I'm seeing things I like. I'm seeing pieces on this roster that make sense, but there's still guys I want to see more from. Does Tyler Barron or Eric Watts get a run? Again, I think at this point, Michael Clemens shouldn't be playing. I think we know the writing on the wall. Give someone else an opportunity. I want to see AZ Thomas get more reps. I want to see them try something different, like Dean Clark at safety. I want to also continue to see this offense have like a decent game plan, but also mix it up. I hate those Isaiah Davis inside runs and out of the shotgun. I think they got to be better. I think this defense, again, showed a lot of signs, but I want to see more pressures, more blitzing. For God's sakes, can they turn over the football? But we'll have a lot more great Jets content throughout this season and, of course, the offseason. Draftings are specialty on this channel. We do multiple mock drafts, tons of draft experts. We talk draft ad nauseum throughout the season. And, again, there is so much to talk about this offseason. There's going to be so much turnover. It's going to be one of the most fascinating in Jets history. And we'll be along for the ride. And again, we'll be here the rest of the season. We'll be bringing you all the latest on the Jets this offseason and, of course, down this final stretch of the season. We'll break down who's looking good, who could be a member of the 2026 Jets, and more importantly, who could be trimmed from this roster going forward. Again, as always, thank you, everyone, for joining us for this live stream. If you missed the live stream, hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. And if you have a great question, make sure to put it down below. Check out our shorts on the YouTube page. Check out our Instagram at Rich Sports Talk. Check us out on X at the handle at Rich Sports Talk. And if you want to take us on the go, or you want to listen to us in the gym or get all the latest analysis, take us on the go wherever podcasts are available. Wherever a podcast can be played, you can listen to Rich Sports Talk. Again, thank you, everyone, for joining us. Jets fall to the Ravens. It was a frustrating game. Lots of good, lots of bad. But at least you see some pathways going forward. You at least see some progression. And that, at this point, is all we can ask for. We'll have a lot more to say as we go down this home stretch of the 2025 season, and we'll be along for you for all the ride here on Rich Sports Talk. We will see you.